Hey there, guys. I wanted to continue. This is lesson 3 in what is holiness, or holiness is, and what how holiness works. And my text that I'm using to teach from is Leviticus 19 and 1 Corinthians 13. And there are several scriptures that I've been using along the way, such as Colossians 3:20, Ephesians 6:1 and 2, Leviticus 19:3, Exodus 20:12, and James 1:27, and Leviticus 19:9, and 2 Corinthians chapter 3. There's been several scriptures I've been using. And here's another thing, another scripture that that we need to consider in the book of Leviticus 19, and it says this. Leviticus 19:11. It says, "You shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie to one another." Now, this is using integrity. In other words, it's like this. You shouldn't be taking from someone. In other words, finding a way to get someone's money or get them out of their money or something like that. I've seen where people will devise plans to steal from their congregation to get things done. In other words, instead of dealing with them forwardly and saying, we have this need, this is the situations we have, and we want you to work with us to get this accomplished. Instead, they'll devise a plan behind the scenes, and they will get the people to give, and they'll use all kinds of evil devices to get that plan accomplished. And it'll make it look like they're doing the works of God by doing this, because they're hiding the whole plan. They're not revealing the whole plan out front. I've seen that happen a lot, and that's against God, and that's dealing falsely, and that's stealing. And it says, neither lie one to another. In other words, don't be not telling the whole truth, and not be forward, not telling everything the way it should be. And also in verse 13 it says, thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor. In other words, don't deal with them and defraud them. In other words, don't. Let's look that word up real quickly, and we'll find out what that word means. Let's just ask Siri. What does defraud mean?
Here's what I found on the web.
What does defraud mean?
Defraud means illegally obtain money from someone by deception.
I hope you heard that. It says that it means illegally obtain money from someone by deception. Now, that's what we were just talking about. And also, it's neither rob him. In other words, don't take things from him that's not yours. And that you can rob someone by just dealing with them deceitfully. And it says, and churches rob people all the time, I'm telling you. It says, the wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Now, with me, a lot of times, that's good. We should pay someone what they're owed as soon as the payday comes. We shouldn't keep it from them and not want to pay them. That's not meaning that we need to pay someone immediately after they get done working. Don't let the day pass until we do. That's not what it's saying. It's just when their work is done and the pay is there for you to give to them, don't keep it to the next day and wait to pay them. You need to pay them what they are owed. And a lot of times people want to hold back that money, or think of ways to make more money with the money they've got, or try to figure a way out of paying. That's not something we ought to be doing. We should be wanting to pay if we have someone work for us. And like with me, sometimes I have to really plan well, because my payday doesn't come once a week. And most people want to get paid once a week. And a lot of times my pay periods don't work like that. Sometimes they do, and sometimes I've arranged for them to work that way, so everybody get paid on a weekly basis, because we have a system set up where people need to get paid once a week. And some people get paid every other week. Some people just get paid once a month. and they have to deal with their funds according to that month. But no one should be asked to wait more than 30 days for their pay. Hopefully you can manage your business better than that. And sometimes, though, people will try to defraud you and take from you, but you should do whatever it is you can to make sure that those wages are paid, no matter if it takes from your livelihood to get those paid because you made a deal with that person. In other words, if you have something of value, sell it to make sure you pay them. You don't hold your money back from people. And you got to do what's right. That's our goal here. That's what holiness is all about. Okay? And let's go ahead and finish reading here. Oh, that's it. That's the essence of it. Now, when you deal with integrity, really integrity, someone said one time that integrity is where you do what's right when no one's looking. In other words, you deal with things because you know what's right to do, and you do them the right way regardless if anyone knows about it or not. You do the right thing anyway. And we need to remember that. When someone when we're trying to do what's right, we need to make the judgments that we do things. And let me read a scripture to you out of Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians chapter 2. We'll go and look. You didn't know that the Corinthian letters actually talked about the Torah. People don't realize these things. It'll take me a minute to look at the very scripture. I think it's here it is, verse 15. It says, "But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judge of no man. For he hath known the mind of the Lord, that he may instruct him but we have the mind of Christ." Now, the bottom line is what he's saying there is just what I just said. That's integrity. He's saying, but he that is spiritual judges all things. In other words, we want to judge how we do things, how we handle things according to Torah, according to the way God would have us to do things, the right way, and how he would have us to do them. And see, that's the thing about understanding the Torah. Torah is something that instructs us. Or you can read the New Testament. The New Testament has the Torah throughout it. And we can use those things that are applicable to us and understand it. But here's the thing. If you understand the Torah, you will understand the wisdom of God. You will understand, reading the book of Proverbs, you'll understand what wisdom is and how to handle things, how to make judgments, how to watch out for things, how to use integrity, how to live your life the right way. And I was going to school one time in a college, and one of the things that I had to do was I had to take and I had to write the book of Proverbs out of 3 different translations and write it down, all 3 of them, every one of the Proverbs, and I had to write about what each one of those meant to me underneath the verses, each one of them, each one of them, what it meant to me, and in order to become a counselor, and or to know how to counsel people. You know, I got a book when I was studying psychology, or when I was doing this Counseling 101 was the name of the course. Also, I had a book that says, here it is. It's not far from my reach. Now, I had two important books I had to read. This is a good book to read. It's about understanding how others misunderstand you, and a unique proven plan for strengthening personal relationships. And this is a really good book. If you can see it there, if you want to help yourself to be able to help others or be able to understand others, You might want to read this book. It's a really good book. It's one I had to read when I was taking Counseling 101. And what I learned out of this book was, I thought, because I was so selfish, I thought that when I read this book, I was going to learn how that people misunderstand me, because I was taking counseling, you understand, how to get people to understand me. But it was about me understanding how others were, so that I could be merciful and I could help them. And also, another good book from that same line of thinking is how to read a person like a book. In other words, if you're communicating with someone, you learn their body language, you learn how what they're saying sometimes is not really what they're really meaning, and you learn how to understand them and how to read. Even writing, sometimes their writing would reveal what they were really thinking and how they were thinking when they wrote. That's how that people that do studies on when they're doing criminal research on people, a lot of times when they sign something or write a letter, they learn about that person by how they wrote on a piece of paper. I think that's amazing how it reveals their personality. And whenever you're talking to someone, not every time, sometimes people cross their arms because they want to be comfortable. That's just how they're comfortable, just by crossing their arms. But 9 times out of 10, when a person crosses their arms when they're talking to you, they're not interested in what you're saying to them. And also, if they cross their legs as well, then they're completely shut off to what you're saying. And so, or you can tell by body language what someone is thinking. And there's a lot of different things that you can learn from that. And whenever you're learning about when I read this book here, understanding how others misunderstand you, what I learned from that book was there was all the writers of the Bible had different personalities. Well, this book actually talks about it. It actually talks about how families how they function and how they survive, because they're all different, And those are just 2 good books, and one of the things that I learned, and it caused me to have more integrity toward other people, caring about another person. And when we think about integrity, we're going to judge everything out the way God would want us to judge it out, how He would see it. What would He do? What would, remember those bracelets that used to be going around? It's what would Jesus do? Well, in all reality, what would you do according to how Jesus would handle that situation? And would you be upset? Never mind that. That was not the direction I was going in. The bottom line is that when we're talking about having integrity, you handle your business matters, your personal matters, in a way that would be holy toward everybody you deal with. You'd be separate from what other people, the way some people handle things. In Israel, I know, and I think it was the book of Amos, or I think that's right, or Malachi, it said that they would have unbalanced scales that they would use to cheat people. They would use an unbalanced scale. In other words, the money would be in their favor. They would be cheating people. It's just like nowadays when the gas prices are the prices that they are at gas stations. You go to one gas station and they're charging $2.20. You go down to another one, they're charging $1.93. What causes that is greed. Because in all reality, right now, we should be paying no more than $1.25 a gallon for gas. And some people are paying $2 and $2.20, $2.23, $2.09. And that's how much money they're making per gallon of gas. That's really not right. And, people have a right to charge what they want. But when it comes to the point where it's robbing from people that are having to go back and forth to work and make a living and take care of their children, their wives and their family, or their wives that are providing as well, taking care of their husband and their children, we should not be trying to take from them. People shouldn't be trying to take things from them and overpower them. And so that's not the way we ought to be doing things, okay? And that's not having integrity. And whenever you're going out here to work, and let's say that you're trying to figure out what value you are when you're working for someone, what your value is, what your worth to them should be. And you shouldn't take advantage of people. You know, people ask me sometimes, well, what do you charge? Well, I'll say, well, you know, it's not always the same. And the reason why I say that is because you consider the people that you're working for. You don't, and people should not get mad when you charge one person one price and another. And in this aspect, what I do is I charge according to what those people can pay, and they need the work done. And they're not like everybody else that can afford it. Well, I cut my prices, but when I go out and charge most people, I usually charge anywhere from $20 to $25 an hour for labor to do work, because I'm the owner of a business. And I could charge more than that because a lot of people do. And it depends on what I'm doing sometimes to the price I charge. And so really, in all reality, $20 an hour really isn't much these days. And after you pay your gas fees and you pay for your tools you have to own and buy, and you have to do that out of your business, what you make from it, and you have to charge for your insurances, because you have insurance on your vehicles, insurance as far as workman's comp goes, you have insurance as far as liability, and you have to pay for all those things, and you have to pay your employees and all that. And I'm talking about, when I say I charge $20, $25 an hour, that's my income per week. There's a lot more money involved when I bid a job. There's a lot of money involved there. And if I feel that I can help someone out and it will not hurt my well-being as far as being able to survive to keep my business going, because I'm responsible for other people as well as myself, and make my bills where they'll be paid, where it won't hurt me to do that, then I'll charge lower prices. And sometimes I take a hit just to do that. And what I'm saying is that's using integrity when you're not just trying to take advantage of someone. And that is what this really is talking about. When you're dealing with people in business and everything like that, you shouldn't be a sluggard in business. You should always be on top of things, and don't ever pull punches with people. If you can't afford to do the work for them, don't do the work, because you're going to hurt both of you when you do that. And we're not just talking about work here today, but we're talking about having integrity. Sometimes it's about telling people straightforward the truth, that you can't afford to help them, and you can't do the work for what they can't afford you to do it, because you're a growing business. And you don't need to feel guilty about that, as long as you're not trying to take advantage of someone. And you can't afford to do the work, you just can't. You do the best you can do. But always remember, do what you can to help people when they're in need and they want to do better, okay? And that means in every way. I know there's this person I did some work for, and I won't call any names or try to. Her husband left her, and she had a few children, not just 3, not just 4. She had more than that, and and she was left without. And I tried to help her every way possible, but I got myself in a sling because I couldn't afford to do the work for her and make any money. I was ending up being taking from my own pocket just to get to her job. And so I was thinking, how am I going to handle this situation? And I was having to buy tools to do it and trying to learn new skills. It was just really not working out. And I was trying to use integrity and help this person. I just couldn't. And so I had to finally be honest and say so. We can't always help people, but we need to do the best we can when it comes to helping people, because God said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is integrity. That's caring about your neighbor. That's loving your neighbor. That is holiness. And that's how holiness works. And when we're judging all things, that is using integrity and doing what's right no matter what, okay? And remember, always treat people the way that you want to be treated yourself, and better. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. In other words, don't do them wrong. When you deal with them, treat them fairly in every way. That's what this passage of scripture in Leviticus chapter 19 is talking about. Okay, well, I think we've made our point today in this lesson here about using integrity. Remember to read these scriptures that I'm quoting to you. They are very important. And look in the scriptures and try to think about all the places that this type of thing is being talked about throughout the scriptures. If you can remember them, just write them down and take notes on those scriptures and see where else you can find this same principle being used in the New Covenant and in the Old Covenant, that you can remember it being used. And try to remember how to apply that to your life, and don't let it be just the letter. In other words, let it be done from love. Now, sometimes we have to suffer when it comes to love. Don't misunderstand that statement. We have to suffer for love. Jesus said, "Unless you take up my cross and follow me, you're not worthy of me." And we've got to take up our cross, and it is painful to do what's right when everyone else is doing wrong. I had a situation come up with a job here not too long ago where I was really done wrong. And I saw some of the areas where I could have done different that would have probably helped prevent these problems from arising. But this person just totally, really did me wrong in every way to be thought of. Okay? All right. Well, thanks a lot. And don't be taken advantage of. That's not what we're talking about here. But use integrity to do the right thing. All right? Thanks a lot.